Welcome to Biscayne FC. Today we have Marcelo Radice, the founder of Biscayne Soccer Club. Welcome, Marcelo.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Mariano.
Thank you for coming here to the studio. The first section of this show is going to be about the Biscayne Soccer Academy, Soccer Club, sorry. And we would love to hear a little bit about the beginnings of this club that you've been for a long time now. When was that this whole journey started?
Well, I was told the club was founded back in 1971 with some of the kids on the island. I arrived around 93. But at that time, I think they were playing just very limited in one park, somewhere in a park that they had there where the current Village Green Park is today. I started, I guess, when I got on the island in 93, when I arrived with my kids, became a resident, and I was involved all my life in soccer. I played collegiately. I tried to play professionally, got injured, came back, finished school, and then I made it to the Key, and I saw this club that was run by another gentleman at the time, and they invited me to become the commissioner of soccer when it was being run and was still being run by a club that managed all of our sports. And eventually, when the village became its own entity and broke away from unincorporated Dade, they became their own municipality. They decided to bring all the sports and manage them through the village of Key Biscayne. And since then, that was back in 93, I think I was more of a parent for a while there, helping the girls program. They invited me when I was the commissioner.
So you started with the girls' side?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I started with girls because my son was a swimmer and he had no interest, and a basketball player, so he had no interest in soccer. But my daughter really liked soccer, and she had to play with the boys. She was one of those few. And then eventually we had enough girls to start putting girls' teams together, and that's when I got involved to see if I could help build out a program for the girls. And it started to grow, and it was a lot of fun. And at that time, unfortunately...
How many players did the club have at that time?
I think there were probably under 200 kids,
and now?
Less than 200. And now we're 1,050. Yeah, 1,050.
Big number.
Yeah, we've 5 times, almost quintupled in size, and we had to manage that growth over time because when at one point, I think it was around 2007, they decided to put out an RFP for the program after they removed the old coach, the old guy who'd been there for a while, and AC Milan came in, and AC Milan had the license, their branding, and they came and took over the club for a couple years, but they didn't want to have girls teams.
Why is that?
To this day, we didn't understand why. I think they wanted to go very slowly. They brought in a couple guys, one guy from Milan, an ex-player, but their focus was on the boys, and we had to take our girls off island, so it was kind of upsetting. So all the girls left the island for a period there, and they, I think, ran it for about 2 years, and then after that, they put out another RFP because they were not the village was not happy with the performance of the club and of the management team. And in 2010, I was invited with a group of about 6 parents to participate in the RFP as a group, and we won the bid. And from that day forward, 2010, that's when I got involved more.
15 years then.
So we're going on 15, 16 years, on our 16th year now. And,
nice.
We've gone through 3, with that one, 4 RFPs. And we've had to go up against established names and clubs like PSG, like Juventus, Atletum, all kinds of teams.
I mean, Key Biscayne is a very, everyone wants to have an academy or a club or a leg in Key Biscayne. And knowing that you have 1,000 players, that's huge. Well, was trying to think the math behind it. How many teams do you guys have? Because you have 20 players per team, 25 players per team.
Yeah, we have about 36 playing teams that play competitively, and then we have 2 teams that are pre-competitive on the girls' side. So we're trying to rebuild our girls' program.
When you
Our
say teams, you mean like all of the divisions?
registered teams, across the U8 to U18, U19.
Jesus, it's huge.
So we have so when you go from U8 to U13 or U12, we have 3 boys teams and 1 girls team. And then when we get up to the 13 and higher, U13 to U18, we start with 3, 3, 3. And then eventually when we get to 17s, we have 2. And then on the 8-19, we have 1.
And what would you say was kind of the main thing, the main driver that made you grow so much? Like 5X.
Yeah,
What
I think
happened?
it was fields, basically fields. When they brought in made the fields in the park and turned them over into playing fields in our village green, and also the contract when we were able to get the field over at Mast Academy with the agreement that we had that was going to become our a school with the new I believe it was middle school all the way up to senior.
But I think you may be a little bit humble because it can't be only fields that took you from 200 players to.
You're right.
In 15 years.
There was also, during these last 15 years, there was a very strong demographic shift where we started to see the influx of more Hispanic players, more Hispanic families coming from all over South America. From South America, so we started to see the Argentine community, the Brazilian community, Spanish community starting to come. And Key Biscayne being such a desirable place, such a safe place, they felt home there. And that's what makes it, I think, a very unique club. And it's that, you don't have to leave the island. The kids are all homegrown, and we were very fortunate that took off. With the additional field space, there was just the demand to accommodate all these foreign Hispanic players who their priority was really soccer.
And is there any kind of rule from the community or from the city of Key Biscayne to have players that come from the island?
Yeah. They passed an ordinance, I believe, that was started about 4 years ago where all the children 10 years and under, so the U11 teams and under, or 10 years and under, all of the recreational kids 10 and under, and competitive teams 10 and under had to be residents of Key Biscayne. And then children above that age, they've been applying a rule which they call the 70-30 rule, where 70% of the kids playing in those higher age groups have to be residents of Key Biscayne. 30% can be non-residents.
How cool is that? I'm seeing that the club has quite a significant influence in the island. I would say that no one in the island doesn't know about the existence of this club. What would you say is the main differentiation of the club versus other academies? I'm sure kids also have, they know about the other academies in Miami, in Florida, and they still choose Key Biscayne. What would you say is the main difference of you guys?
Well, I think a lot of factors, when we took over 15 years ago, the club was it wasn't a very competitive team or competitive club. And we had to kind of rebuild, and it all started, I think, with coaching. We started bringing in certified coaches that were licensed anywhere from D all the way to A licensed coaches that came with a background, ex-professional players. So the combination of excellent coaching combined with having a vision in terms of how to integrate our rec program, which was the
recreational one.
The recreational program was really where it all started, because we were a seasonal sport back then where we would only play in the fall. And then in the spring, there would be the kids that wanted to continue playing would play tournaments. They would play. And then the leagues started going all year. The kids wanted to play throughout the year. And the South Florida associations and leagues started to offer soccer 10 months out of the year. And that took off. And with the rec program growing as more and more kids were arriving on the island, the demographics also shifted in terms of number of kids,
I see.
per family. I think maybe it's partially the Hispanic families tend to have more than 2 kids per family. So that started to also, and with that demand to play soccer, and the more fields became available, all of this came together. The good coaching, the good support from the village staff that gave us the field space and the coordination so that we could have those fields. And then over time, just trying to build an understanding, a clear development program. We realized that if the kids have to start them at the age of 3, when we got them into the Pee Wee program, they could then grow and start to give them age-specific training for the kids that wanted to go on and continue to play competitive. Because obviously there's choices. You can go and you could stay in recreation until you're 14 if you want, because there's some parents that don't want their child to go off island to be competitive, or they don't have the means to have travel with the child. So we had that option, but as we got better and better, and these kids were coming from and getting better training, they became more and more competitive. And we could see it over the first generation of kids from 2010 who are now 16. Those are kids that have gone through the whole cycle from the age of 6 now to 18. And we could see how they were becoming more and more competitive. And by the time they were in their 15, 16, 17, and 18-year age groups, they were already competing for state cup. They were already, making it to the finals. So the progression of the kids playing together and staying together, because they were all kids from the island, really turned the whole club around.
That made a difference, that's for sure. So I would definitely consider Key Biscayne as a success story, not only from this point of view of the growth in the amount of players, but as well, you guys came up with very famous players right now, like Benjamin Kremaski is an example. For other folk in the rest of the country that are building a soccer academy, what would you say are kind of the 3 main areas or topics where you focus during the week? Is it the sports side and the coaching side? Is it more the operational side? What is it that really drives more of your focus right now?
Yeah, I think to your point, I think first it's the sporting side, having the right technical team, coaches out there, because that's how you build a program. That's how you get the players to play and understand the game. The physical, the technical, and the psychological parts of the game. And now we're trying to add the nutrition and the extra fitness, which has always been something that
I saw you guys are with 54D
Right.
as a partner.
Yeah, that's been a great partnership. They came on board, and now they give us access to their facility. Our kids are spoiled sometimes, I'd say, because
Man, they're
now it's
training
like
hard,
we have a studio available, but sometimes it's hard to find the way to get the kids to commute out there, especially those that are on the island. Those that come off the island, sometimes they get together and they meet there. So, but 54D has been a great addition for the kids to give us that access, to give us that, help us on the physical fitness side, and it's starting to show. You can see it over the last 2 years since our sponsorship started, that our kids are stronger, and because we go up against a lot of these, sometimes these Central Florida or stronger off-island teams that are definitely larger, physically, more physical than we are. We're usually very technically
Man,
superior.
South Florida soccer is tough. It is tough.
Yeah, it's gotten very competitive.
Very, very competitive. Every ball is like the last ball. And I was impressed when I started watching this youth kind of soccer. It's incredible how tough it is. Speaking of which, I was wondering, what is the main rivalry of Key Biscayne? Which one would you say, hey, this is the game that we need to win?
Well, I think 5 years ago, it would have probably been teams like Pinecrest and the Breakers. But now that we're playing at a higher level and we're playing in the Academy League, we're playing in the National Academy League, so we're allowed to play and we're also playing in the Florida Academy League which is the highest pre-MLS league that exists. We're going now up against the Atletums, the Kendall, Miami Football Club Rush, Weston, South Florida.
I'm hearing only MLS Next.
Yes, those are the big. Those are the games they really look forward to, our players, because they know that those are the quality teams, the quality clubs. But you still Miami. There's some Miami Breakers is still a great solid club. Pinecrest is showing improvements. They've gotten stronger now. They had a little lull there a couple of years ago, but now it looks like they're coming back very competitive. And now we've seen mergers of certain clubs.
Yes.
And
it's incredible everything that's happening.
and all
here
of a
in the
sudden
space.
they go from being a very small club with a few good teams to as consistently very powerful teams like FBS, like FCL Miramar, who didn't exist 3 years ago. One FC didn't exist 3 years ago, and they're quality clubs.
For sure. And we went through kind of the success stories. We've been through the good things. I'm sure there were so many challenges throughout the way. What would you say are the main challenges that you faced, or the most difficult times that you had in the building of this club?
I think field space has been a challenge, because as our team grew, and we want to promote as an island diversity and giving our kids a lot of choices with sports, and with the influence of some of these other sports that came through Argentine connections like rugby, field hockey, and then we had American football that didn't seem to last long, but it's been replaced by flag football, which is a great sport, baseball that's always been around. Having to share all our fields with them seasonally or during the season, that's the greatest challenge I think I see right now, because our kids, if we could give them a little more space, then we could also, and if we had some more space, we would be in a better position to let our talented kids to stay on the island with the
Do you
opportunities.
guys have a waiting list or no?
Occasionally we do, but we eventually work out a way to accommodate them. We either open up a new hour or a new time, or we add one or two more players to a particular team. We see it more on the recreation side, because we have 4 hour slots, and we can only put so many kids on a field during that period to make it so that they can learn, rather than just be throwing them out there. So the whole idea here is development. We put development first. So unfortunately, but then eventually, kids find their way. They come into the sport. They may not stay. They come and they try for a semester, or they come and try for a couple months, and then they don't particularly like soccer, so they move on, and then so it seems to adjust itself.
Have you ever thought about how many players or kids did you have an impact of, like as a club?
Wow, it's been, I guess we could say thousands have come through.
Thousands for sure. In the 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it took us time to build up all the way to all the age groups, and then have 3 to 2, teams per age group. And then on the girls' side, we have 1 or 2, depending on the age. And that's really where we want to focus the next, 2 to 3 years, is try to get the girls, get them to the level that we've been able to achieve with the boys. And it's a different approach, because there's different challenges coaching girls. But I think that's the next big challenge I think we have as a club. But on the boys' side, we're almost there. We're pre-MLS on the younger boys. We have the now academy, where we're already knocking on the door of MLS, and hopefully that will come, because that would be nice for our children, because then they can all come back and play on the island instead of having to leave every year to go try out for the Ones and the Westons and Inter Miami, and we can keep them home and keep creating this community and culture that we've been able to build especially over the last 5 years since the pandemic.
And getting into you personally, I mean, so much time, so much energy. What drives you, motivates you to work in this space?
I mean, I've been always a soccer fanatic from young kids, being an Argentine-born, coming from an Argentinian family, that was the first thing I saw at my feet when I could walk. And so soccer was always something that I enjoyed playing. It wasn't played a lot in my neighborhoods when I grew up, but slowly but surely it caught on, and in the communities that I hung out with, and then throughout in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area, it became very popular. And then eventually, as I made my way down to Miami, I was lucky to have a chance to play at a high level collegiately with a Division I school at the University of Maryland, and then my first year at American, and then I finished at University of Maryland. And then I had a chance to play professionally for a brief stint there before injuries ended my career pretty fast. And then, but then I focused. I've always been around sports marketing, and that always, and sports marketing specifically with sports. I was fortunate to land at a MasterCard International when they had acquired the World Cup rights back in '94. So from '94 to 2002, they made me the chief of the sport, and I was very lucky. I got to...
Jesus, man, that's a great experience.
For South America, and then I was able to negotiate Copa Libertadores, Copa America, Gold Cup. They all became part of our portfolio of sponsorships under MasterCard, and it was a great brand builder for the brand, because in Latin America, South America, that's the sport that everybody connected with.
One of the reasons I thought it was super important to bring you here to the show is because you do have a great background in media and sports, and in soccer in particular. And there has been a change in the sense that now there's a lot of video, and how the video is being used in the academies. Could you tell us a little bit if you record your games or you don't record your games, or what you're doing with them?
Yeah. I think it's important now. I know that for collegiate recruiting and just for teaching now at the academy level. So there's two things that we're going to continue to get better at. First, we got this last year we acquired 6 cameras that we deploy around our games, home and away, so that we can videotape games, and our coaches then can have access to them, and they try to use them for their own coaching sessions as part of the teaching process. But then now we need to get that next step is going to be now with our college recruiting app, and with people like you and others that can help us create video content for our players. We can then have them go out and start to promote themselves within the college and or academy levels, at the high academy levels, if that's what they want to do. If they aspire to continue to play through the professional route or through the collegiate pathway, we'll help them. It becomes important, even though video content is important, just to face it, because coaches right now they're inundated by thousands of video snippets, little sizzle reels, promo reels of a kid, and you can see the highlights of a kid make 50 goals and 50 beautiful passes in 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, I think what the coaches really want to see is a full game video. They want to see a highlight reel of the whole game of the player, and then tag that player to see how he's playing during the game when he's off ball, when he's moving. And those are the things that are changing, I think, with video. That's really important. And then the video tied in with GPS and JPS tracking, I think that's the next step, where that will help in terms of performance for the clubs and the academies to take their coaching sessions to another level.
Super, super interesting, and technology keeps on impacting the whole game.
Yeah.
With that, in order to close the show, we'd love to give you a space to send a message to all of the community of soccer here in Florida, and specifically to the younger players that are gonna watch the World Cup, and they're super enthusiastic about the World Cup and the game growing here. What would you say to them?
Well, to the community of Key Biscayne, I just want to thank them all for allowing us to have been able to be there for them, help them create a club as they've grown and as like we talked before, the shifting of the demographic, our idea is to really be there to service the needs of the community, and they've allowed us and they've pushed us to take the club to a whole new level. And so being able to allow that and the community and the staff and the people, it's not just the administrators like us and the coaches, but it's the support from the staff at Key Biscayne in the village, and the support of the parents. The parents are critical, because without them and the commitment from them, these kids can't achieve these results. And so my plea to all the parents out there, not everyone is going to be a Gremachi, and we know that. He's one out of 100,000, and that's just the reality of sport. But there's an opportunity for our kids to play and enjoy from the age of 3 to 18 and enjoy this beautiful sport, and at all different levels of competition or recreation. And that was the whole idea about starting this club. And we're there to service the community, and the feedback from them is very important. And then beyond Key Biscayne, I'm just very proud of I'm very proud of how we've been able to develop our recreational program now, with a very specific program that integrates with our competitive program and now the academy program. It's all one development pathway, and it's important. All of them are interrelated, and I think that's the message that I think we need to get across to our community over the next year to two, because I think sometimes people feel like, the focus is all about competition and being super competitive. But there are those players and parents that want that, but then we know that there are other players that just want to play the sport and they want to enjoy it at a less competitive level. And then we have those kids that just want to enjoy it at the recreational level. We have girls that don't want to play competitive soccer, but they still want to play twice a week. 15, 16, and 17-year-old girls that want to play because they just love playing the sport and doing exercise, and we try to even accommodate them. So I'm grateful. And I've been pretty lucky that I can just watch these teams evolve and then now put Key Biscayne on the national map, because we're now qualifying to the national tournaments.
Nice.
Our U14 and our U16 teams now qualified for the U.S. National Championship. The end of 2 weeks ago in Arizona. And then we have all six of our top teams are all fighting to win their league in the NAL, and if they win, they also advance to another national championship. So we're giving the kids what they wanted, and they deserve it, because they're showing us that they can play at this level.
Incredible. Congrats again for everything you guys put together, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.